What is up, my friends? Parasite. I already did a video talking about this movie, and I realized once people started to comment that that video is very confusing because I'm over here saying the father and the son and the father, the mother, the father, the daughters, and there is two different families, both with mothers, both with fathers, both with daughters, both with sons, and it just doesn't make any sense the way I described that video. So anyways, let's just get diving into this ending explained for this movie. Parasite, one of my favorite movies of the year, definitely, and one of the best endings, one of the saddest endings, and what the hell is going on now? So I made that video a little bit too long as well, the other one. I'm just going to try and condense it down, make it as easily accessible. Let's just talk about it. I was just trying to go in depth with the story, but if you're listening to this, you probably already know what's going on. So I'm just going to try and do a minute or two just talking about the story, and then in the last minute go into that. So I think I'll probably say, if you just want the ending, so if you want to skip to where I start explaining my thoughts on the ending, you can definitely go to 5 minutes and 35 seconds, so you can go there, or if you want to get the whole recap, keep listening. But let's just get into it. So this story revolves with two families, the Kims and the Parks. Now the Kims are the poor family. They are living pretty much in horrendous situation where they don't have Wi-Fi, they barely can afford electricity, water, all of that, and they are in need of something. Nobody has a job, and they're trying. They really are. They're doing folding boxes for pizzerias. The pizzeria doesn't want to hire any of them because they don't see the need to hire anybody else. One day, however, the son, he actually gets a job offer from one of his old high school friends who offers him the opportunity to go tutor a wealthy off high school student from the family, the Parks. The Parks have money and they're willing to pay whatever it is to get the best. So he goes, takes this job, and then he finds a way to con them into hiring the rest of his family, with him not saying that that's actually his family, but people he trusts, knows from other sources. Ends up they infiltrate the new home, get everybody else fired, the driver, the old maid. Old maid comes back because she says she has something that she left there. Turns out that she actually has somebody living in the basement that nobody knew about. Not even the Parks know about it, the rich family. And then she starts to blackmail the other family when she finds out that they're a family that con artists that are just trying to take the money from the Parks, even though that's not really the case. They are still working, but they pretty much do this. After some struggle, we see the old maid get killed accidentally as she falls down the stairs. She has a concussion and over time dies. The old man, her husband, that's pretty much deranged downstairs, gets tied up, and the Kim family is like, we're just gonna go on with our lives and forget this ever happened, right? The next day, at going to be having a surprise party for their son, the Parks, the rich family, and they tell the Kims to come back. They're invited and all of this, but some of them are actually working as well, such as the father. And then we see the deranged man get out after the son is trying to take care of him by killing him, because he's like, I have to take care of him. He ends up getting beat down by the man, and then the man goes out and starts stabbing people, stabbing the Mr. Kim's daughter, and Mr. Kim is just in shock. And then Mr. Park's son has a seizure, and he's like, come on, Mr. Kim, you have to drive us, because Mr. Kim, of course, is the driver. Mr. Kim is in shock that nobody's saying anything about his daughter dying, but everybody is all preoccupied for the son because he is Mr. Park's son, who is the wealthy CEO. Mr. Kim stays blank, doesn't say anything, and Mr. Park's like, forget it, I'm gonna do it. He goes to get the keys. The deranged man is there after being stabbed by Mr. Kim's wife with a barbecue pitchfork, and then Mr. Kim just looks as Mr. Park is like looking at the deranged man, disgusted at his smell, and he just goes and stabs Mr. Park. He then runs and he hides from the police, and then we cut to a few months later, I believe, where we see Mr. Kim's son and his wife are at the hospital. His daughter has died tragically, and Mr. Kim is nowhere to be found. The son and the mom then move on with their lives, and they see that the dad was never found. They never knew where he went. The police are looking for him because he killed Mr. Park, and we are left to wonder what exactly happened. The son then gets a hunch to go back to the house because he just wants to get, like, I feel like he felt like something was missing, and this is where he's drawn back to the house where his sister died, where his dad committed a heinous crime, and pretty much their whole lives got ruined by this. while he's there, he finds somebody making some Morse code with lights, and he decodes this and finds out his father is the one doing this, who has now moved into the basement at the bottom where the old deranged man lived, and is now habitating with some new family that came from Germany. He tells him that he is fine and not to worry. The son, however, says that he will get him out one day. He will go to college, he will get a great job, and he will be able to afford the new home and have his father be free finally. And the movie ends with that fantasy, and then it cuts back to reality with the son barely writing this letter, and we see his head injuries, which makes us think he might not be able to do this actually realistically. The house is very expensive after all. And that's where the movie ends. So now let's talk about what it all means. Well, why did Mr. Kim go what made him snap? And I really feel it was just a build-up of the whole movie for Mr. Kim, seeing how the rich people were, and even though they were starting to get money, they were still always below these people, and he just felt like he was never going to be anywhere above them, and he was always just going to be a servitude of sorts. And Bong Joon-ho goes on to say that this is sort of how they are parasites one another. They both are feeding on a host, which the rich people are parasites to the poor people because they're using them to do things for them that they could do, like cooking, like driving, and all of these other things, while the rich people are getting sort of like a host to the poor people because they are the ones providing things for them, and they are basically infiltrating their home. And by the end of it, we see Mr. Kim as a parasite kill his host, the Park family. So yeah, it's a pretty interesting thing with that, and we are left to believe that Mr. Kim snapped because of all of this. I actually have a video on just that sole thing because I thought if I talk about two different things, it would make the video too long. So I broke it down to another video. Go check it out if you want. That's just talking about what made Mr. Kim snap and kill Mr. Park. But let's talk about the ending. Will Mr. Kim ever be free? And I think the answer to that definitely is probably not, as we learn from the hospital that the son has now suffered pretty extensive brain damage. He can't stop laughing uncontrollably no matter what, and we're not sure exactly where his health is going to go from here. I mean, he took some pretty hard blows with that rock, as we saw him get hit numerous times by the deranged man living downstairs, and it's safe to say that he might not go to college, he might not get that job, and Mr. Kim might never be free to walk out into the sunlight, as they said. It is definitely a very bleak ending, but it definitely speaks on many levels about society and how we want to do things like this. We all want to go above and beyond for the people we love and provide and give them the life we want. And sometimes that may be the case with some of us. We might be able to do that, but many of us might not be able to either. And I think that's what the movie was truly trying to emphasize, as well as the parasitic relationship that poor and rich people do have with one another on a day-by-day basis, because at the end of the day we need from each other, because that's the only way that we're going to survive. Because rich people, of course, are people who don't have time or don't want to learn to do things that poor people can do for them, such as cooking, driving, all of this. But at the end of the day, the rich people are the ones providing for the poor people as salaries and all of that. And we saw the Kim's life change because of this. They were able to do more stuff together. They had sort of a freedom that they didn't have when they were worrying about money, but still didn't have the happiness when they were poor and just having whatever they could to eat, but still being happy with one another. They were too focused on other things as well. And I think that was something we saw also when the maid was trying to tell the mom, hey, if I pay you, can you please just help me with this? But I feel like the mom got a little bit too much into her head. Whatever, I don't care about you, you're poor, whatever. And I think that was one of the things that definitely caused everything to happen. It was sort of, I would say, a karma of sorts, because they made this woman lose her job, but they don't even want to help her right now. And I mean, I think if they would have done some relationship from the beginning where, okay, you can keep your husband living down here and we can reach some sort of agreement, because we know where we both come from, But I feel like once they got really comfortable with the rich people and their money, they really forgot where they came from, and I think that's what caused all of that divide to happen. But yeah, I thought that's my thoughts on the ending. It is definitely a movie about class, and it is definitely a movie that has the most bleakest ending we've ever seen. With Mr. Kim, he's not coming out of there, no doubt about that in my mind. That's my thoughts. I'd love to hear what the director has to say. I'd love to hear what you have to say in the comments below about the film. This video did go on a little longer, but there's just so much to dissect, and as I said, I don't want to talk about why Mr. Kim turned, his actions and all of that caused him to kill Mr. Park in this video, because look, we're already at 10 minutes. This video would go on for like 20 minutes, and I think that's too much of a long video to watch. So whenever you get the chance, if you want to, right after this video, or maybe later or tomorrow, go check out the other video on the twist for Parasite. It is already on my channel. You can go check that out. And as always, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, what are you waiting for? 10,000 subscribers. Let's go. I will be seeing Knives Out this week. Super pumped for that. I have a ton of other videos coming for you as well. Another Parasite video this Saturday. And yeah, I'm excited. Anyways, as always, I'll see you all next time. Stay positive, my friends.